Hi everyone, Don Giannatti, lighting-essentials.com and project52prosystem.com. Today we're going to talk a little bit about where to put the light when you're first starting out with your still life. Now, I believe there's such a thing as the arc of beauty. Now, the first time I heard that term was from a friend of mine named Gayle, an amazing still life photographer, and his link to his website's down below so you can check him out. But I've always thought it of as side light to backlight. You bring the light farther forward than side light. Now you have front light. And I don't care from what part of the front arc you do it, it's still front light. Front side, front other side, doesn't matter. It's front lighting. Once you get to the side, 180 degree angle there, or 90 degree angle to the product, that's side lighting. I don't care which side you're on. It can't be a little more side lighting, a little less. It's side lighting. And then from side lighting all the way back to the other side, that's the arc of beauty. So the arc of beauty is a place to start when you're doing especially things like food or product, still life, anything you want to see texture in, anything you want to pull out the color in. Front light tends to make things a little bit dead. Front light tends to put the light more powerful at the beginning of your image and then falls back as it goes away. And we have this sort of feeling we're falling into it. Backlight brings the light from the back and we have a feeling that there's a dimension behind it. So I'm going to take you through a few exercises here, and I hope you appreciate the fact that we're shooting on an iPhone. So this is not DSLR quality, it's iPhone. I hope you like what we're doing here, and we will continue with the Arc of Beauty for the next probably 3 videos. So one today, one probably tomorrow, the next day, etc. We're going to get you through this side light, 3/4 back, backlight, and back top. And all of those things, you can do side top as well, but still on the arc from the camera to the subject. All right. As you can see with these tomatoes, we're lighting them from the front. So the light is coming right from here down onto the tomatoes. Notice how the shadow is cast backwards. And also notice how the light goes from light to dark. That isn't necessarily the best way to shoot this. One of the things that happens is that we lose the dimension of the tomatoes. The ones in the back look flat and uninteresting. The ones up front, while they have a highlight on the side, they certainly don't have much of a highlight on the top or the back side, because there is nothing back there. We can put a card or whatever, but the tomato rolls away from us and starts reflecting the dark studio. Remember, tomatoes are shiny. They reflect the light source. So this square that you see up here, that's the softbox that I have running right over here next to me. It's very close to the subject, so you can see that it's brighter here and darker back here. That's result of the inverse square law. The light is brighter closer to the subject than it is farther away, and it just tends to not make it very interesting. Front lighting for food or still life can be very problematic because it just looks plain. It's plain vanilla photography. Does that mean it's wrong in every case? No. There's sure cases that it would work out well. There are cases where this light coming from the front to the back could be very, very nice. We're going to show you in the next clip. I'm going to add a kicker to the back. That might make it a little bit better, but it's still not going to have that same feeling as the Arc of Beauty will have when we light it purely from the back with a little fill in front. In this clip, we put a little bit of a kicker from the back coming in here. You can see the highlight here and here and here. And that tends to make the tomatoes look more round. It gives us a much more pleasing representation of the dimension of the tomatoes, because now we have a highlight at the top. We see where this highlight comes over to the side, goes dark, comes back up, picks up a highlight. So we tend to see the roundness here. But to me, it's still not there as far as being a really interesting lighting. We're still not really seeing the relationship of the vine to the tomato. We're not seeing all the intricate lines that could be seen. So I'm going to move the light from the back from way in the back doing the kicker. I'm going to move it from back there. I'm going to move it forward, and I'm going to turn this front light off. At this point, I haven't touched the backlight. It's exactly in the same spot it was. See if we can take the exposure down a little bit here. Apparently no. But you can actually see that the tomatoes and the vine much more interesting now, right? So I'm going to bring the light over the top. Now we have the light over the top, but from the back still. As a matter of fact, the front of the softbox is really coming up to about here. All of this backlight is from the softbox. Now we drop the shadows forward. We put a very, very large, soft specular on top of the tomatoes. I have the light in just about as close as I can get it. For me, when I start to light something, especially a tabletop piece of food or still life, I bring the light in as close as I can get it, not far away or just where the stand's set up. I've seen so many photographers just set a light up and then they start to go. I start with it in as close as it possibly can be, and then I move it back. So let's see how much closer I can get with it. If I take it down, about here, we start to see it. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull it up right out of the frame. That's just about an inch lower than where I started with it. So I get the light in as close as I possibly can. That gives me the whitest, softest highlight I can get from this light source. Now this is a small 18 by 24 little softbox with fluorescent lights inside it. It's the same little kit that I referred to earlier as a little cheap kit. It's really, really nice. And look, now you can see the relationship of the stem to the tomatoes. You get the full shape of the tomatoes. It really works out pretty well. I'm going to take that front light. I'm going to move it back a bit, just a little bit. I'm going to turn one of those on. I just got one of the lights on, not both of them. Now I'm going to pull it back until I get just a little hint of, you can see the highlight on the tomato. I'm going to move that highlight to where I think it looks the best on the tomato, right there. So now I have my main light from above, a little kicker light up front. The shadows are opened up, they're falling forward, and we have a real sense of dimension. This is what I talk about when I say backlight. We're going to talk more about the arc of beauty, but right now, start with your light slightly above, back, and tilted forward. Okay? So my light is actually tilted forward. I'm going to do a little diagram here following this clip. Now I've brought that the front light up as close as I can get it. As a matter of fact, there it is. You see it peeking into the frame? That's how close it is. It's right up in it. At this point, the light becomes so large, we don't see that tiny specular up here. We get a big smooth specular. Look, it almost meets the other specular, so it's very, very smooth. Really opened up the shadows through here and still kept a nice feeling to the stem because our backlight's a little bit stronger. I only have 2 bulbs on the front light. I have 4 bulbs lit up on the backlight. If I'm to match them, we're going to lose that feeling. You see? See how much flatter it becomes? We really need a little bit of shadow in these tomatoes to pull it off, to make the exposure gradient a little bit across the top. Really works well. Now, since the tomato skins are very, very shiny, I'm going to pull this light back, and you'll see how that little specular becomes very noticeable. Lost the shadow and etc., but we see it's very noticeable. This can be actually can be a total stylistic choice for you. You don't have to do it. You don't have to not do it. We can bring it over more to the side. We can actually take it and drop it down on the side like this and bring it in. And this is where our light is. Bring it right here. You can see it right there on the side. We'll bring it right in there. and create something that has a lot more light from the side and the top than it does from the left side. So you've got a lot of things to play with. I'm going to turn this light off at this point because I really want you to look at how pretty this single light is. I am now going to move the single top back softbox forward. Okay, at this point the softbox is above the tomatoes, slightly behind the tomatoes, tilted forward, but it's all the way forward of the tomatoes. It's way up here. The front of the softbox is here. You can see on the top of the tomatoes how that softbox rolls to the front, where when we had it before it stopped right about there. Now it rolls all the way to the front because the tomato, being round, is starting to see that softbox. Look how pretty the light looks on all of these tomatoes and the stems, how beautiful the color is. It's a very rich and powerful way to shoot. So we call it the Arc of Beauty. Hope you enjoyed this little presentation. Thanks everybody for following along on this video. Listen, if you liked it, hit subscribe, let your friends know, share it, make screen copies. I don't care. Let people know. I just want people to light better. I want them to think about their lighting before they start to set it up. Instead of thinking about the subject, let's think about the lighting. I call it subject-centric lighting. You can find that on Amazon.